Good morning, dear Thai, dear beloved community, brothers, sisters. Today is the 25th of September, 2015. We are on our fourth day of the Time is Now retreat in Magnolia Grove Monastery. And today is my grandfather's birthday. I'm very aware of my grandfather being present in me with all his strengths and all his weaknesses, and I am enjoying the practice for both of us. Yesterday we had the humor of the practice, and I'm the sister who has been asked to give you the nuts and the bolts of the practice. So in order not to stray too much from the topic, I've made some notes. I hope I'll look at them enough to not to wander off too much. I think I better put on my glasses if I really want to stay with the topic. I can still see you, it's good. Today we're going to continue with the sutra on the full awareness of breathing in the light of the Four Noble Truths. And today is the third Noble Truth, which is there is well-being. It is the light at the end of the tunnel. It's the good news. Yeah? And we have already been practicing together, stopping with the bell, with the telephone, I hope. We've been practicing walking meditation, eating, dishwashing, work meditation, sitting meditation, and sharing in our Dharma discussion, as well as deep relaxation, very important practice. When we become aware of our breathing, whenever we do it, and especially in deep relaxation, it is really an opportunity to bring our mind home to our body. Yeah? The body is the first home of the mind. Yeah? So we've been doing this together, and yesterday we have looked into feelings. Today we would like to look into mental formations. Feeling is also a mental formation. It is kind of generic, if you like. We have, as we heard yesterday, we have pleasant feelings, unpleasant and neutral feelings. Yeah? Like, and then we evaluate that feeling. You know? A pleasant, maybe we step into the sea, the river or lake, and we feel, there's a thought coming up. The water is cold. Now, if it's very hot outside, we will say, oh, this is pleasant. Yeah? And if it's not so hot outside, we say, ooh, it's cold. You know? Then we have an unpleasant feeling. We may be out walking, and we have a neutral feeling. It's neither pleasant nor unpleasant. I like to think of a neutral feeling as 50-50. It's 50% pleasant, 50% unpleasant, and that's why it's neutral. Mm-hmm. This means, like we did the exercise yesterday with the brother, it can turn into a pleasant or an unpleasant feeling. And if we have some mindfulness, we can turn it into a pleasant feeling. We say most of our feelings are neutral. Some say 75%, which is a lot. So we have a lot of opportunities to turn our feelings into pleasant feelings and become a happier person, I guess. I would like to start by looking at our mind and two aspects of our mind. For that I'm going to draw something on the board. I think I need a bigger pen. It's a big board. An imperfect circle is good enough. Okay, let's say this is our mind. Of course, our mind is not a circle, right? But we need an image to represent the mind. And I'd like to look at two layers of the mind. The bottom layer we call store. Store is where all the seeds that we have are stored. A seed is like a potential. Like when we have a seed of cosmos flower, it's a potential. The cosmos flower is in that seed. And when we water the seed, the cosmos flower will manifest itself. So we have seeds. We call them seeds. They're potential. We have a potential to be happy, to be joyful, to be sad, to be angry, to be fearful, to worry, and we call them seeds. Yeah? And they are stored here. I'm drawing them here at the bottom, but of course, store is not something that... It's a space with seeds floating around or lying at the bottom. Store also means the totality of the seeds. So store is the totality of the seeds, the storing of the seeds and the seeds. Yeah. This is just an image. So that's a seed. This part we call mind consciousness. When a seed gets watered, then it comes up and it manifests in our mind as a mental formation. It's like a state of mind. Yeah? We have the potential to be angry. When that anger is touched, pushed our buttons, sometimes they say, we become angry. And then that potential becomes a mental formation, a state of mind. It comes up. And it's there, a mental formation. Do you all remember the first the first 8 exercises of breathing? Did you do your homework? The first set of 4 was about the body. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Breathing in, I'm following the whole length of my in-breath. Breathing out, I'm following the whole length of my out-breath. Breathing in, I'm aware of my body. Breathing out, I relax my body. So the first 4 concern the body. The second 4 we heard yesterday is breathing in, I'm aware of a feeling of joy. Yeah, a pleasant feeling. Breathing out, I'm aware of a feeling of happiness, pleasant feeling. Breathing in, I'm aware of a feeling of pain. Yeah? And breathing out, I calm the pain. Yeah? Unpleasant feeling, and we calm it. Now we go to the third set is the awareness of mental formations. Eight. And in the 9th exercise, we become aware of all the mental formations that we have throughout the day. We'll be very busy. We can just... the mind is like a river of mental formations. They come, they stay, and then they go. This is the nature of a mental formation. In fact, it's the nature of everything. Everything arises, stays, and goes. And in the 9th exercise, the Buddha advises us to become aware of this river of mental formations. It's like sitting at the bank of a river and watching all the drops pass by. You know? Oops, that is anger. Oh, gone. Oops, joy. Oh, gone. You know? Have you had those days? You know, I do not know how many mental formations we've gone through to a day that we notice. You know? But there are many more we don't notice. And the Buddha says, notice the mental formations that come and go. Yeah? Notice. Don't judge. Don't evaluate. Just identify. That's all. Just identify. This is anger. This is fear. This is worry. This is joy. This is ease. You know, this is zeal. You know, this is contentment. You know, this is compassion. This is loving kindness. This is understanding. You know, this is doubt. This is regret. You know, when we sit at the bank of the river of mental formations, we get to know our mind. We get to know our mind. You know? And that's what we want to do, just to get to know our mind without any judgment, just becoming aware of it. So aware of the mental formations. Of course, we need to practice in order to be able to do this. And that's why we stop when we hear the bell and bring ourselves, the mind, home, back to the body, in order to become aware of what is happening in our body and in our mind. And to be able to name, to identify what it is. And as we sit at the bank of the river and we watch our mind, we may notice that certain mental formations come more often than others. Yeah? Maybe the mental formation of joy comes much more often than other mental formations. Yeah? Or the mental formation of courage, of understanding, of compassion, or anger, or fear, or worry. We get to know our mind. We get to know the inclination of the mind. We may have a mind that's inclined to worry, or a mind that's inclined to be angry, or fearful, or positive. A mind that always sees possibilities, you know. A mind that is loving, you know, that's understanding. Yeah? And we want to know why. And the Buddha said, if we know how things came to be, then we are already on the path of healing and transformation. The Buddha was also known as the physician, like a doctor. A doctor diagnoses, yeah? And then a good doctor tries to find out what the causes are. And maybe not only gives us antibiotics, but also tells us what to do and what not to do. So the Buddha also, let's diagnose and then look to see how it came to be. How does something come to be? It comes to be because it is nourished. Nothing can exist without nourishment. Our body is the way it is because of how we consume. What you are, what you eat, I think that's a common expression, wisdom of the people. And another thing is, we are not just what we eat physically, you know, through our body, through our mouth, edible food, but also what we consume mentally. What do we nourish our mind with? Edible food. Yesterday we already heard something in the 5 mindfulness trainings. If we eat something or drink something that is heavy, you know, whether it's something very greasy or alcohol, it is difficult for the liver. And we know when we have a liver problem, we become lethargic, not just physically, but also mentally. Yeah. And the food that we eat is also, as we know, the gift of the earth. Yeah. So the gift that we receive, that's what we become. If the gift is healthy, if the food is healthy, we become healthy. If the gift is toxic, our bodies become toxic. If the earth is toxic, our body, become toxic. If the rivers are toxic, our blood, everything becomes toxic. And this insight leads us to being engaged. Like yesterday, the 5th mindfulness training is an engagement. So our practice is not just for ourselves, but it is engaged. Yeah? We take care of the earth. We know by taking care of the earth, we're taking care of ourselves. And not just ourselves as we see ourselves here, but the ancestors within us, as well as future generations. So in our practice, mindfulness is what we call right mindfulness. Yeah? Because it leads to the well-being of ourselves, others, and the planet as well. It leads to the well-being. It is an engaged, ethical life. It is a way of life. Maybe we can have a sound of the bell and go back to our bodies, bring our mind back to our bodies, and become aware of any tension in our body or in our mind, and calm, relax, let it go. The second source of nutriment is called sense impressions. The edible food, although we say it is primarily for the body, we have already seen that it also nourishes the mind. You know? Sense impressions is primarily for the mind, but it also affects our body. I think we all know when joy is watered in us, we are light, we walk. When fear is watered in us, it has an effect in our body. We feel it in our body, yeah. But it comes in through the senses. Yeah. What comes in? What do we see? What do we watch throughout the day? Like we heard, we do not have bigger. Sorry, brother. This is the biggest I can do. So this is an eye, for those of you who cannot see at the back. What we see, you have already heard, we do not have television in Plum Village. But when we go out for shopping or something, we are bombarded by advertisements, all these things, as we already heard, what we need in order to be happy. Or we watch things, maybe when I open the internet, I often get a page with the news. You know? Just reading the headlines for me is enough. I think I know what this is about. And then the next day is the same headline, or even it keeps on coming back, and more and more and more. We want to be informed, as we already heard, which is good, but we need to be aware of what does it water in us. What does it water in us? Whatever we watch, the films, the news, the books we read, also comes in through the eye, yes. What we see, the impressions we get, they water seeds. There was a young man who stayed in Plum Village in the early years of Plum Village. Was about 16. His mother had sent him to Plum Village for a few months. And after about 2 or 3 months, he said he didn't know what was wrong with Plum Village, but he was having very, very violent dreams. And in those dreams, he himself played the most violent role. So he said he didn't know what was wrong with Plum Village, you know, but this is what Plum Village was doing to him. Well, then we realized in Plum Village, he said something else. He said, and the dreams that he saw were more violent than any violent video he had ever watched, and he had watched many violent videos. Okay, well, that shone some light on the situation. I said, yes, in Plum Village, we do not have television. So everything that went in comes up on the screen of his mind during his dreams. You know? He had watered it, he had allowed it to be watered so much he was not aware of it. So he stayed another 3 months, and he went back 6 months later with no more violent dreams, feeling more peaceful, and being more aware of how he nourishes himself. Yeah. We may not watch many violent videos, or what do we have nowadays? DVDs. But after we have watched a film, if we just take a moment to sit and to reflect, all right, so what has been watered in me? What is present in me at this moment after I've watched that film? It will help us to choose what we watch. What is it that is watered in us after we've watched the news? Now, does this mean we cannot watch the news anymore? Or we cannot read newspapers anymore? No, we can. But if we have mindfulness, mindfulness will help us to look at it in a way that it may water compassion in us. If we hear something about some violent deed, we may look at it in a way that we come to compassion. I'll come back to that later. So we can watch, but with mindfulness. The same goes for what we hear. It's another door or window, if you like. This is an ear. Well, trying to be an ear, a wannabe ear. What we hear in conversations, for instance, are they uplifting or are they toxic? And do we contribute to the uplifting nature of the conversation, or do we contribute to the toxic nature of the conversation? With some practice, we may be able to direct the conversation. Yeah? But also, if somebody insults us, what does that water in us? Yeah? If there is a discrimination, a judgment expressed, what does it touch and water in us? And how do we take care of it? And of course, at the same time, what do we water in other people? Yeah. The third one is the nose. Okay? The fragrance of a rose, of incense, of something is pleasant. And here we have a good example when we walk past the compost. Ooh! But if we know how to look in the compost, we know there is a rose. We're going to look at that later. So, the nose. Maybe your tongue, through the tastes that we receive, also water seeds in us, pleasant, unpleasant. Mm-hmm. And through our bodies. Okay, this is the hand. Right? Through our bodies, through touch, seeds are watered in us. So we practice being aware of sense impressions, because what goes in will come out. At this moment, we may very clearly see the inclination of the mind and how it came about. It comes about through watering the seeds. Yeah? And here the Buddha says, do something about this. And the next exercise then is to gladden the mind. Make the mind happy, make the mind glad, joyful. I will make my mind happy by having a sip of water. So we gladden the mind by watering seeds of joy. It doesn't need to be a big joy. You know, the source of our joy can be something that we would consider very ordinary, like the full moon. Oh, the full moon. No, when the moon is full, it's oh, the full moon. You know, this is wonderful. Autumn is coming, the leaves are changing. It's beautiful. You know? We meet somebody who smiles. It's wonderful. You know? All the little joys, we collect them. To walk, to sit with friends, to be together, to appreciate all those moments. You know? Just to appreciate all the moments in daily life that actually bring us joy, and to honor those moments, to honor them, to acknowledge them. It's very simple, and it is watering the seeds of joy. We have a practice where we sit down, and you may like to do this, maybe before you leave, is to take a piece of paper and write down all your sources of joy. Because the seed is watered from a source. What comes in through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, our body. Yeah. So identify the sources of joy. The presence of our beloved ones in our life, you know, the gifts they have given us, you know, the beauty around us. You may notice that you will have a whole list. And this is a wonderful practice to do. We can write them down. You write them down maybe beautifully. Then you frame the list and put it somewhere where you see it. And on a day when joy seems to be far, far away, go to that list, and you will see, you will be able to touch the joy among everything. So water the seeds of joy, small joys. Another way of gladdening the mind is to change the peg. Like a carpenter, when the peg is kind of gone rotten, he puts in another peg. Yeah, change the peg, or change the CD, maybe more appropriate now. Because there's another thing that waters our joy, or our fear, or anger, and that is our thoughts. Yeah. So what are we thinking? What scenario are we writing? If the scenario is a disaster scenario, then can we write a scenario that has possibilities? Can we change the scenario? A scenario is something that we think is going to happen in the future. I write a lot of scenarios, and they don't really come true. They may come true if I project them onto the situation, yes. But if I don't, it is quite different. But having written the scenario, I have a tendency, and maybe others as well, to project that already into the future and onto the situation. So practice being aware of the scenarios that we write. Yeah? And then write a different scenario. Yeah? Change the peg. If one of our beloved ones is not so happy, and we know there is something that she or he enjoys doing, then invite him to do that. In this last year, I have been residing in Deer Park after 24 years in Plum Village. And in the last year in Plum Village, or the last 2 years, I was quite busy, a little bit stressed. And Tai told my younger sister to tell Sister Dieu Nghiem to teach yoga. She loves teaching yoga. She needs to do something else. Tai was directing me like, your mind is going in a direction of worry and whatever, not, change it, So change the peg by doing something that we enjoy doing with the help of friends. That's why we have friends on the path. They help us to do this. It's much easier. And also, as we already looked at, we practice selective watering. What will I watch? What am I going to read? Where am I going to do? How am I going to continue this conversation? What will I eat? Selective watering is another way of gladdening the mind. And then also to water the seed of gratitude in us. We can also make a list of everything we're grateful for. It goes together with joy. You will notice you have the two lists next to each other. You think, they're very much the same. Yeah. Gratitude for the people that are in our lives, what they offer us, what they water in us, how they support us, all the causes and conditions in our life for which we can be grateful. One of our sisters who had an illness, and she was very worried about the illness. This is already a number of years ago. And one day I saw her and she looked much better. And I asked her, what did you do? And she said she had sat down And I thought, yes, one part of my body is sick. Let me go through my body and see all the other parts. Are they also sick or are they healthy? And she realized a lot of the parts of her body were still healthy. And then she asked the healthy organs and parts of her body to send their energy to the part that was sick. And she said she felt much better. She was very grateful for what was still healthy in her body. Yeah. So a list of gratitudes is a very good way of gladdening the mind. And then maybe a very important one, we already heard something about yesterday too, is to let go of our idea of happiness. That, as we heard already yesterday, do we need to have that degree? Do we need to have that job? Do we need to be famous? Do we need to be wealthy? Do we need to have power? Do we need to have sex? Do we need to have a lot of sleep? Food. What do we need? More food, than we need. What do we need in order to be happy? What do we need in order to be truly happy? And again, if we turn to the 5 mindfulness trainings, we will find a guideline. What is it that we need that we need to be truly happy, to have true happiness inside? And the notions we let go of is also one of the notions that causes us a lot of suffering, is that we are a separate individual self. Nothing to do with anybody else, not even our parents. Very often, especially not our parents, or one of our parents at least. No, we already understood that our parents are in us. They have transmitted the totality of themselves to us. All their strengths and weaknesses. And I think that tomorrow you will be practicing touching the earth, a beautiful practice in which you will be able to experience this. All your ancestors in yourself, not only the blood ancestors, but the spiritual ancestors and the land ancestors and the earth. We are not an individual separate self that exists all by itself, without anything else. So if we let go of that idea of being a separate self, we have already more happiness. And this goes on that the notion that we are a human being, that has nothing to do with non-human being elements. We know this already. So we let go of that notion. And the notion that we are a living being that has nothing to do with the inanimate elements. The minerals, the air, the water, etc. We already know that that's not true either. And then the last notion is that we are born at a certain point and we die. We are nothing, we become something, and we return to nothing. And that is also a notion that we need to let go of by looking deeply. And I think on the last day we may hear more about that. So if we let go of all those notions, then we gladden the mind. We are not alone. We are definitely not alone. Maybe we can have a bell. A moment to breathe. And maybe we can become aware of what is the mental formation that is present in us now. Because when we sit at the bank of the river, we always look at the mental formations present now. The time is now. So, right now. Yes, we may want to have a certain job or a certain degree. Yeah. If we can be happy while studying for the degree, we're bound to be happy once we get it. If we can happy while applying for the job, whether we get it or not, or whether we get it, we'll be happy. If we don't get it, we will also be happy. Yeah? If we work because we want to be a little bit richer, because we think it will make us happier, if we work and we're happy, there's a good chance we'll be happy when we're richer. You know? Because we have learned how to be happy. Yeah? In the selective watering, we also become aware of what we water, or we do become aware of what we water. If we know we have a seed of joy, as we already said, we will water that seed of joy so the seed of joy manifests as a mental formation. And then we practice in order to keep that mental formation a little bit longer, so that when it goes back, it has become a little bit stronger. It's like a flower. When we water the seed of a flower, it becomes a flower, and then we take care of the flower as it is there, and then its nature is to fade. And the seeds that are in the flower will go back to the earth. So if it's a healthy flower, it will have healthy seeds. The seeds will go back to the earth, and that particular flower, then, according to the strength of those seeds, has more of an possibility of coming up again. Yeah? So when joy comes up, we take care of it. So it gets stronger when it comes back to our store and has more of a possibility to come up. The stronger seeds come up. We know this. If we have a seed that is not so beneficial, like anger, we practice not to water it so it doesn't manifest. We avoid watering it. Yeah. And if it does come up, we hold it, like the mother holds a baby. We calm it. We don't feed it, and it will go back soon without having gotten stronger. That's another way of gladdening the mind. When our mind is happy, joyful, it is very easy to be concentrated. And the practice of the 5 mindfulness trainings makes our mind happy. If we think, speak, act, and have a livelihood that is beneficial for ourselves and others, we'll be happy. When we say something unkind to somebody, this is at least with me, maybe with others too, and I realize I've said something unkind, I don't feel so happy. And when I come into the meditation hall to practice sitting meditation, I first have to look into myself and be compassionate towards myself before I can really concentrate on my object of meditation. Otherwise it keeps coming in, and taking my mind away. This is just a simple example, but you may like to look in your life when we are joyful, a joy that is truly based on the well-being of ourselves and others, including the planet. Its concentration comes more easily. And the next exercise is concentrating the mind. And we concentrate the mind in order to shine light on the mental formations in this river that come up and go. And we look into what brings them up. We already know edible food, sense impressions, but there's more. What else brings up these mental formations? Volition is a very powerful source of energy, nutriment. It is our deepest desire. What is it that drives us in life? What is it? You know? And is it beneficial or is it unbeneficial? We have the mind of love. We call it bodhicitta. It means that we like to live in a way that helps relieve the suffering in ourselves as well as in the world. You know? And that volition is an enormous sense of energy. If we think of Mother Teresa, when I read her life story, somewhere it said that Mother Teresa, at that time still, I guess, Sister Teresa, was very weak physically. But then she wanted to go to Calcutta to work for the poor. And that the superior said, oh, let her go, you know, is really what she wants to do. We do not know if she can do it because she's not physically very healthy. Well, she lived to a ripe old age and did a lot of things because she had this mind of love, this will to live for the benefit of herself and other people. Thay also has a very strong volition to help people to learn how to take care of the suffering inside of ourselves and those around us also, by looking deeply and by practicing. And this is what gives Thay the energy to do what Thay has been doing and what Thay is doing also now, doing whatever Thay can do in order to be present with us still. When we have a beloved one or we know somebody who has fallen into a depression, we need to touch the volition, because when we are in a depression, we don't see the point. You know, where's our will to live? And help them, guide them to touch, you know, a volition. Help them to discover one and water that seed. That will give the strength to come out of the depression, as well as watering seeds of well-being. Our sister asked in the first talk whether we know kind of that within us sometimes there's a dark place, you know, that we sometimes touch. And at a certain point in my life, I also touched that dark place. The inclination of a mind had been joyful for most of my life. And then I had an experience that, boom, joy was gone. I didn't know what happened to me until I realized what had happened. No more joy. I lived in a house with 2 beautiful cherry trees, Japanese cherry trees that bloom in spring, one white, one pink. And all the years that I would come out in spring, I would stop and go, oh, and be so happy to see the cherry blossoms. First thing I would see stepping out of the house. I remember stepping out of the house, and it was April, they were flowering. I look and I go, boof. So what? So what? And at that moment I thought, strange, because it's white and pink. I thought, wow, these trees have always made me so joyful. And now, what has happened? They're still the same trees, and they don't make me joyful. And at that moment I thought, I know that in these trees there is joy. And what I need to do is every time I pass by to look at those trees, even if I say, boof, so what? Just stop and look and be with the tree. And that's what I did. And not just with the trees. I used to go out jogging in the morning up a hill behind the house, and I could see the mountains and the sea below, and I would stop and say, and now I stop and think, I said, no, keep looking, keep looking. It's there somewhere. It's somewhere. Without knowing it, I was staying in touch with the sources that had always watered my joy. Go back to the source. And the flowers don't bloom very long in the climate where I lived, about 3 weeks. And I remember one morning coming out and going, one moment it was wow, and the second moment, oof, And I thought, you see, they have it, I know. So this means that the sea and the mountains also have it. My friends have it. Whatever source of joy I have, their source is there. I need to stay in touch with that source. And that's how little by little, also with friends around me, this dark place, became light again. Yeah. Very important to stay in contact with the sources of joy. Maybe we have a bell? And of course, as I said, the bodhicitta, the mind of love, is a very, very strong source of joy. So we try to bring that to life. Volition, the fourth one, is our consciousness, the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness is also our environment. We are shaped by our environment. Many seeds are watered in us through our environment. And the collective consciousness is the environment. So the environment is very important. If we allow everything to come in through our senses from the environment, our store consciousness, our mind, will reflect the environment. It will reflect the environment. If it's a beautiful environment, that's beautiful. If it's an environment where there is discrimination, hatred, ignorance, violence, fear, then our consciousness will become that also. And we ourselves will become part of watering those seeds in others. Because what goes in comes out. Yeah. We have inherited seeds from our ancestors, like I already said, that were also shaped by the environment of our ancestors. Thai has given us a meditation on love many, many years ago, in 1990. And what Thai asked us to do is to look deeply into how we have been shaped, to look deeply into all the causes and conditions in order to understand how we come to be as we are. How we come to where we get our views, where does our thinking come from, speaking, acting, the livelihood we choose, where does it come from? Thai gave us a Maitri meditation, a meditation on loving kindness. And Thai asked us to first look into our family life, to see what we received through our family life. Like I say, the views, what was watered in us, in our family life. Was understanding watered, compassion, love, or discrimination, fear, hatred? Was pain inflicted on us, or well-being? What shaped us in our family? Then Thai asked us to look into our education, maybe from kindergarten, school, university. What was passed on to us through our teachers? Their notions, their view, their way of looking at life, the way they interacted with us, the material we studied and how we studied, from what angle we studied it, how it shaped us, to understand and see how that came to be. Then, this is one I added. Our work environment, our profession. How is that? What do we receive? At the same time, what do we give? The same. We are shaped by that. Then we look a little bit further in society in general. How are we shaped by the economic situation in society in general, our own personal one? It waters things in us. Yeah? Or the political situation, what does that water in us? All these things, look. And also by our people, the people we identify with, what do they water? What is watered in us? Yeah? Also through society, what is watered in us? And then maybe the most important thing, that shaped us. A practice, either the presence of a practice or the absence of a practice. Yeah? Also shaped us. And looking into this practice, our family, education, work, society, and the absence or the presence of a practice, we get to understand how we come to be as we are right now. And we can see that according to all those causes and conditions, we're doing our best. Whatever we're doing according is based on all these conditioning that we have received, and we are doing our best. And this doesn't mean, so I'm doing my best, fine, I can continue as I'm doing. No, the key is the absence or the presence of a practice. And we bring a practice into our life, and we know this is where I stand, and I know where I want to go. Yeah. But seeing this and knowing we're doing our best, that is where compassion for ourselves arises. I'm doing my best. And Thai advises us when we have an interaction with somebody or with the community that has caused suffering, that we can go to the other and say, I'm doing my best. Please help me. I'm doing my best. I am sorry, but I'm doing my best. Please help. Sometimes Thai asks us, why are you doing that to yourself? When he sees that we're beating ourselves up for one thing or another, we do something the Sangha has already said that's fine, and we're still walking around with this guilt that is a dead-end street. Regret is something that can be useful. I regret, and now I want to do it differently. Yeah? So if we're riddled with guilt, do this meditation. We get compassion, and the guilt will turn to regret, and we have something to stand on to say, I can do differently from now. I have learned. And with the practice of mindfulness, I am aware of what happens inside and outside, and I can respond more appropriately. With this practice, concentrating the mind, we need to be concentrated in order to look into the four nutriments, in order to look into the causes and conditions, to shine light on our mental formations. And when we see their true nature, then we have liberated our mind. We are no longer caught in the prison of the past. Because if we can have compassion for ourselves, we can then look to others who may have hurt us to have compassion for them too. And see, they actually need help. When we have compassion with someone, when they have hurt us or hurt our beloved ones, it doesn't mean that we condone the act. If they have done something that has been destructive, hurtful, having compassion doesn't mean, so that's okay. No. They did our best. They did their best also. But the act is not okay. And they need help in order to come to the insight that happiness is not an individual matter. You know? So here we have the environment. Oops. Okay. Through which things will be watered in us. When we have come to the inside, we're doing our best. Yeah. The well-being of others, the well-being of the earth is our well-being. We have the insight of interbeing, which is called right view. The insight of interbeing. Whatever the way we think, speak and act is based on our view, on our insight. Yeah. I just want to come back to the past. We always look at things that we have done in the past with the insight that we have now. When I now think back of what some things I have done in the past, I think, why ever did I do this? How could I? You know? That's a dead-end street. How could I? Well, because I had a different insight. That's why. Yeah, okay. So, when we look back at the past and we see that was not skillful, that was not beneficial, neither for me, for another. Remember, we know that now. Yeah? So let's live in the present moment and be truly present to see what is happening in the here and the now. We may then in the future have less of, how could I? Yeah? Okay. Right view. Right view leads to right thinking, right speaking. I speak my mind, right? Right speaking. We used to say that. Right action. Right livelihood. You may recognize the 5 mindfulness trainings right there. Huh? So yes, that's right diligence. we looked at to know what to water and what not to water, what to keep and what to let go back. Right mindfulness. And right concentration. This is called the Noble Eightfold Path. It's the fourth Noble Truth. The Noble Eightfold Path. And the Noble Eightfold Path leads to well-being of ourselves and others. The mud, suffering, well-being, the lotus. By looking deeply into the mud, we get insight. We recognize the causes and conditions that lead to suffering. It's an insight. Mm-hmm. And then we know we have to do things differently. Practice. And fruit. Okay? Right? Very simple. Now, what is the way in? This is a circle, right? What is the way in? Mindfulness. Yeah? That's why we practice stopping to listen to the bell. We practice walking meditation, eating meditation, sitting, deep relaxation. Always coming back to the here and the now to see what is happening, what is present in us, what is being watered in us. Where do I want to go? When we have mindfulness, we have a choice. Yeah. And with that, we come to the 12th, which is liberating the mind. Yeah. We started this morning, we sang a song, Cultivate Joy. And I would like to ask Sister Tamoy if she could come with us to lead us again in this song. Sister Tamoy, are you still here? Ah, thank you. So the exercises of breathing are a practice, not just something that we like to know about, but it's something that we like to practice in our daily life. Yeah. We take care of our suffering, get the insight, know what to do and what not to do for transformation to happen and well-being to manifest. Thank you very much for listening.
So dear friends, I hope you can remember the words. Maybe I'll just remind you, cultivate joy hour by hour, smile by smile, flower by flower. Sow seeds of joy among gloom and despair. Cultivate joy and joy will be there. Maybe we can do one verse at a time. Cultivate joy hour by hour, smile by smile, flower by flower. Sow seeds of joy among gloom and despair. Cultivate joy, and joy will be there. Cultivate joy, and joy will be there. So the word, the next one, cultivate peace hour by hour, smile by smile, flower by flower. Sow seeds of peace among hate and fear. Cultivate peace, and peace will appear. Cultivate peace hour by hour, smile by smile, flower by flower. Sow seeds of peace among hate and fear. Cultivate peace, and peace will appear. Cultivate peace, and peace will appear. Cultivate love hour by hour, smile by smile, flower by flower. Sow seeds of love among hard and cold. Cultivate love, and love will take hold. Cultivate love hour by hour, smile by smile, flower by flower. Sow seeds of love among hard and cold. Cultivate love, and love will take hold. Cultivate love, and love will take hold.
Thank you so much. So, dear friends, today you had the nuts and the bolts. I hope you can use them. And believe me, you use the nuts and the bolts and you'll find all the humor of the practice. Thank you.